How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC 323 Dvalishvili vs. Jan 2 on December 6, 2025. Timestamps in the comments below. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 14. We start with Muhammad Naimov versus Mairon Santos. I'm going to pick Mairon Santos over Muhammad Naimov, probably by decision. He could find a finish here by TKO, but I will go with decision win. Muhammad Naimov, while he has a very good record in the UFC, like shockingly good, 5-1, not a lot of people can say that they have a record like that in the UFC. He is kind of painfully just kind of average in a way. He trains with good people, main sparring partner of Justin Gaethje for reference. Like this is the guy in the clip that head kicks Gaethje and Gaethje kind of starts stalking him down. That was Muhammad Naimov. He's well-rounded. He hits pretty hard, but his technique all in all is kind of wishy-washy. He's got he throws a couple spinny wheel kicks here and there. Outside of that, his boxing is pretty rudimentary. Mairon Santos, in my opinion, I think is actually very good. I know the Francis Marshall performance, a lot of people say that was a robbery. I personally don't think so. I thought he very clearly did more in rounds 2 and 3 and was winning the first round until the knockdown. He's very defensively sound on the feet, which I think is going to carry him throughout a lot of this fight. Because Muhammad is the type of guy to just kind of swing wildly at you. And I think Mairon really kind of punishes people for doing that. He defends really well, and he's got a really stiff jab to kind of offset people, and he's got great takedown defense. And all in all, on the feet, Mairon's got really nasty angles when it comes to his entrances with his hooks, especially his left hook. And his jabs and 1-2s, he's got a really good right hand over the top that he'll kind of throw out there, back up, cover up, and then check left hook when someone's coming in. He's got really good takedown defense. And he's got a body, like, I forget who I said about this on one of the previous cards. He's got a really weird body where his arms are really long, his torso's kind of shrunken up though, so he can kind of defend his head and his body at the same time without having to like crunch over and whatnot. He's very hard to do good body work against, which Muhammad Naimov will look to kind of dig to the body a little bit, kind of just throw everything into a punch there. Mairon's a bit more methodical with his approach though, and I think that's what's ultimately going to get him the win. Leg kicks at range, jab, offsetting Muhammad Naimov, defending the takedowns, and all in all, I think Mairon Santos is just a bit of a better fighter than Muhammad Naimov at the end of the day. So, Mairon coming off a good win over Sadiq Yusuff, I liked his performance. So I will go with Mairon Santos with a decision win over Muhammad Naimov to open up the last pay-per-view of the ESPN era. We move to Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Antonio Trócoli, or Trócoli, however you want to pronounce it. I'm picking Mansur Abdul-Malik over Antonio Trócoli, probably by TKO in the second round. Mansur, even though I think Mansur has a decent ceiling, I think he still is pretty green. Even though I have very high hopes for a Mansur Abdul-Malik at the end of the day. He trains at MMA Masters. He's got a lot of really good guys surrounding him at the end of the day. But I don't know. Like Eric Nixick, for example, is this dude's head coach. Like him and Sean Strickland, Mansur, and they're kind of like sparring partners and whatnot. Mansur's a specimen of a human being, 6'2", with a almost damn near 80-inch reach. For example, Antonio's got 3 inches of height and only half an inch of reach on him. I think this fight, even though I think Mansur Abdul-Malik is still a little green in his areas, we saw that against Wes Schultz on the Contender Series. We saw that against Cody Brundage last time out, which was now a no contest or a draw. And we even saw that against, who's the blue-collar guy that was it Nick something? Yeah, Nick Klein. I don't think those guys are good at all. Dusko Todorovic isn't good, but he finished him in the first round, to be fair. But Nick Klein and Cody Brundage and Wes Schultz are not good. And Mansur is dragging them. Oh no, there we go to the second round. Sorry about that. Antonio Trócoli just isn't good though. So I don't have any fear of Mansur losing. Antonio Trócoli is there to get hit He's kind of just a tall guy at middleweight. He doesn't have a lot of danger on the feet. You see Sharabutin pushing him back. You see Tresean Gore kind of pushing him back, able to find a submission in the first round. Antonio Trócoli is there to get finished, and I think Mansur Abdul-Malik can find a finish over him. But I don't think he'll do it in the first. I think it'll be kind of like a feel-out process. Mansur feels out in the first round, maybe capitalize near the end of the first. But I think in the second round, if it gets to the second round, that's when Mansur is going to be able to pounce on Antonio Trócoli for better measures and find a finish over him. So Mansur Abdul-Malik by TKO in the second round. Lock it in. Antonio Trócoli is just dog shit. We move to Iwo Baraniewski versus Ibo Aslan. I'm going to pick Iwo Baraniewski over Ibo Aslan in his debut. This is tricky, though. Ivo, he could get size mogged, IMO. Like, it could happen to him. Ibo is a massive light heavyweight. You know, oh, Turkish power, you know, how whatever bullshit Ibo says. I thought Ibo Aslan looked really fucking bad against Billy Elikana, and I think it's been kind of a thing that's happened to him where he's kind of just regressed a lot ever since losing to Ayhan Kutelaba. Now, he could find that spark back in this fight. Ivo isn't a tall, rangy, light heavyweight. He's kind of a compact disc of a fella. Very compact, kind of small, shorter for light heavyweight, kind of just really short arms as well. But I think Ivo can grapple a little bit, the chunky little fella. He can grapple. He's got a really good blast double leg, and he does a lot of damage when he's on top. And that is something that we've seen Ibo always struggle with, is when he's on bottom, if you kind of force him into a kind of firefight that he's not winning, where he's kind of exchanging and it's kind of equal, and you got him fearful of the shots upstairs, he'll kind of just start swinging from the hip. We saw Ayhan Kutelaba force that upon Ibo Aslan very quickly in their fight, found a double leg, and then immediately got the takedown and started going to work on Ibo Aslan. Iwo Baraniewski, he's very strong on the ground, knows how to hold dominant positions very well. He's got a really good mount game where he's able to kind of just slice through the guard very easily. And to accompany that, he hits really fucking hard on the feet. We saw that on the Contender Series when he beat Muhammad Ali. No, not one of the greatest boxers of all time. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy named Muhammad Ali, who he knocked out cold in the first round in 20 seconds. Has Muhammad fought since then? No. Muhammad Ali, but by the way, Muhammad Ali is also 6'3". He's a giant for the division. He was coming off a win over Jared Gooden. Yes, that Jared Gooden. He's got a large history in, jiu-jitsu, though. Ivo, though, even though he's shorter and he's going to deal with, some range discrepancy in this fight, I think he can he's got a sneaky right hand that I think he can kind of fade through into Ibo Aslan's pocket, kind of fill the void with his head movement and shoot over the top with that right hand, kind of force Ibo Aslan to kind of short circuit, because if you hit Ibo Aslan, he'll kind of short circuit and just start throwing back at you, and that's when Ivo can capitalize, maybe get a takedown here and there. I think Ivo can finish Ibo Aslan if he wants to, and I think he will. I think we're going to see a TKO for Iwo Baraniewski on the ground, where it's kind of a TKO, where Ibo Aslan, maybe it's not like vicious ground and pound, but it's more so that Ibo can't move on the ground with Iwo Baraniewski. I'm going to pick Iwo Baraniewski over Ibo Aslan. I don't care if I'm saying his name wrong. We move to Edson Barboza versus Jalin Turner. I got to pick Jalin Turner over Edson Barboza at this stage in Edson's career. I know Jalin Turner retired after UFC 313 against Ignacio Bahamondes, where he got submitted. But looking at this fight, it is very hard for me to look at that performance Edson had against Drakkar Klose in August and say, where I thought he was wobbled multiple times against Drakkar Klose. It was a close fight, in my opinion. I thought Edson, there were some competitive moments there, here and there. But all in all, Edson kind of just got bullied in that fight by Drakkar Klose. I just don't really think it's that great of an idea to fight Jalin Turner. And I know Jalin Turner, he's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out at this point. He retired for a couple months, came back just now. His retirement didn't even last a year. Jalin Turner's very fucking dangerous. And that's one of the things, Jalin Turner, inconsistent as he is, he's a 14-9 MMA professional. That's not the prettiest record by any means. But those wins are fucking brutal. You know what I mean? He all by finish. And to be fair, he's been finished 5 times on his own right. But when you look at, the bouts that he's having with, top-level competition, Dan Hooker, for example, Gamrot, for example, he's going to split decisions with these guys, and it all relies on his ability to land those KO shots, but those guys were able to, Gamrot's always able to scramble out of those situations. Dan Hooker just has a chin of, he's just, at least when Jalin fought him, that was, refurbished Dan Hooker. He was able to kind of take a beating there. Edson Barboza at this point in his career, I just highly doubt his ability to take a shot like Jalin Turner's right hand. I refuse. I think the kicking exchanges in this fight are going to be wicked. I think Edson Barboza, if he's able to utilize his leg kicks, can be very effective in this fight against Jalin Turner, just based on the weight on his legs. Look at how skinny they are. He's got Chicken Joe's legs, like that clip. But I think that all in all, Jalen's going to find that shot. Jalin can read patterns very well, especially in the first round. You see what he did against Bobby Green, where Bobby's head movement, he's kind of off kilter to the side. Jalin Turner was like, I already got you down, and landed the brutal right hand that led to one of the latest stoppages in UFC history. Edson's chin, especially in the first round, you got guys like Sadiq Youssef, Lerone Murphy battering him. I know those are featherweights, and that's a huge weight cut for Edson Barboza, but still, even at lightweight, you got guys like Jakar Close wobbling you here, there, and with there. You know what I mean? I just don't really think Edson Barboza has that durability anymore. And I think he's going to get nuked by Jalin Turner in the first round with a brutal right hand down the pipe. Kind of just over the top, kind of maybe lands on the jaw or behind the ear, and he kind of just folds down, and it's just a very quick stoppage by Jalin Turner. I think Jalin Turner's going to make good on his debut back. And the kicking game, even though I brought up leg kicks by Edson, Jalin Turner's got brutal kicks of his own. And he can shatter your arms with them, shatter your legs with them. He's a dense, tall guy. And he could miss weight. Who knows? Jalin Turner, maybe this fight's the one that falls off of this card because there's 14. But I think Jalin Turner's going to brutally knock out Edson Barboza, and it's going to be sad to watch come Saturday night. We move to Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. I'm going to pick Marvin Vettori over Bruno Ferreira, but I am a bit worried. Here's what my thinking is. I think round 1 is going to be Bruno Ferreira's round. Because here's my thing. I think Marvin Vettori is almost too hittable for a guy like Bruno Ferreira to not win the first round against. My thing is, though, I think Bruno Ferreira is going to overexert himself because he thinks that Marvin Vettori is so hittable that he's cracking him every single time that he's hitting him, and when in reality, he's not, because Marvin Vettori's chin is made of fucking, bulletproof glass. He's made of fucking titanium at this point. I would have loved to see a left hook from Alex Bahia on this dude's fucking head. But I think it all really dials down to just level of competition discrepancy from Marvin Vettori's previous opponents. I know Roman Dolidze isn't good, ranking-wise standards, but he's better than Brunno, in my opinion. I know, Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's pretty fucking good. Marvin Vettori did better than, fucking Rene de Ridder, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. Marvin did better than RDR did against Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen's pretty good on the feet. He's a very strict boxer. I think Bruno Ferreira is just a little too wild. And he is kind of dumb. That does need to be mentioned. Bruno Ferreira is kind of stupid. He'll throw spinning elbows. He got the one spinning elbow KO. I saw that in person against Dustin Stoltzfus at Louisville. That was crazy. And then in his following fight with Bismagomedov, he's throwing them when he's up in that round. And he's one of Abus's most recent wins, and he got finished by Abus Magomedov in round 3. I don't really like that. Abus gasses out so hard. but Brunno was gassing harder than him at one point. So I think Marvin can grit this down and win this by decision. He might be able to finish Bruno Ferreira, though. I'll pick Marvin by decision. That doesn't even sound right. Bruno's never even been to a decision, has he? He hasn't, has he? No, he hasn't. Maybe Marvin by TKO? But who's Marvin fucking TKOing, lad? Let's be honest. Like, is he Carl Roberson? Like, he didn't even knock out Carl Roberson. I'm stupid. Fuck it. I'll pick Marvin Vettori by TKO over Bruno Ferreira. Fuck it. I'll take some chances. I'll pick Marvin Vettori by TKO. I think it's going to be one of those things. Early doors, Bruno's going to be tagging Marvin bad. First round's going to be Bruno Ferreira's round for sure. He's going to overexert himself thinking, oh, I got this finish in the bag. Maybe he goes for like an arm bar in like a scramble position where they're kind of grappling. Marvin might try to wrestle. Bruno might try to pull guard and do some bullshit. I think Bruno's going to gas out as this fight goes on, and Marvin's going to be able to put some paws on him. Maybe tag him up here and there, land some good 1s and 2s down the pipe, kind of land good low kicks on him as well. Bruno's going to overexert himself, gas out, be, gassed in round 3, and Marvin's going to string a couple combinations together. Bruno's going to kind of overthrow, kind of start, dancing around a little bit. Not dancing, but like wobbling around, kind of fall over. And Marvin's going to be able to land some brutal ground and pound and maybe find a finish over Bruno Ferreira. Or he just goes to a decision. I think Bruno Ferreira is a little chinny, though. I'm going to be honest with you. I think, the one time that we saw a super flush shot land on him, he got brutally colded for it. So, yeah, I'll go Marvin Vettori over Bruno Ferreira. I want Bruno to win because I think it'd be good for the division because Marvin's, he's the old guard a little, even though he's younger than Bruno Ferreira, which is fucking crazy, by the way. He's the old guard of the middleweight division. He's not washed, but he hasn't won in a while. So I'll pick Marvin Vettori, though, over Bruno Ferreira just based off of veteran status and merit. We move to Nazim Sadykov versus Farès Ziam. I'm going to pick Nazim Sadykov as an underdog here over Farès Ziam. It's a tricky fight, though. There's a lot of tricky matchups littered throughout this card, especially on the prelims. Farès Ziam has looked pretty solid as of recent. He's built up quite a win streak ever since losing to Terrance McKinney. He's on a 5-fight win streak. He beat Michael Figlak, Jai Herbert, Claudio Puelles, Matt Frevola, Mike Davis. There's a couple of stinkers in there, though. Like, going to a split decision with Claudio Puelles, no, I don't like. I know Nazim went to a draw with Slava Claus, but he arguably could have gotten a finish there, and it's a whole thing. You got a 10-8 round. I think Nazim Sadykov is a bit of a fucking banger, though. And if you look at it, other than that performance, he's looked pretty fucking good in the UFC so far. Evan Elder, albeit personally I thought he was down 2 rounds in that fight. He ends up getting a cut. Dr. Stoppage, Terrance McKinney, he kind of flowed through Terrance McKinney. Meanwhile, Farès Ziam loses to him. Ishmael Bonfim. It really is, I think Nazim Sadykov just does damage. That's the thing. In modern MMA, I'm going to lean more with the guy that I think can do more damage. Unless I think that the other guy has a crazy advantage somewhere else. Like Farès Ziam, for example, has been using his grappling a lot to win most of his recent matchups. The Mike Davis fight, for example, he got a lot of takedowns over Mike Davis, which led to the win. Claudio Puelles, similar thing. Matt Frevola, it's Matt Frevola. He's not that good. Farès Ziam's been utilizing his grappling a lot. I don't think he's going to be able to out-grapple Nazim Sadykov, who is out of that, Marab camp with, Matt Serra and Ray Longo, that gym. Farès Ziam he hasn't fought in a long-ass time. Last time he fought was February, which was the Mike Davis fight. He, of course, was booked to fight in September on Paris. Had a personal thing fall out. I think just like stylistically, Nazim matches up pretty well against Farès Ziam. Nazim, really good boxing on the interior. Farès Ziam kind of a, thinner guy. At lightweight, he's tall, but you can tell he's got one of those soy frames a little bit. And he gets kind of bullied around in moments if you really bring the fight to him. Like, Claudio Puelles is picking up and slamming Ziam pretty easily and kind of having his moments on the feet. Matt Frevola round one's having his moments on the feet. Nazim Sadykov's 1, durable, 2, good takedown defense, and 3, I think he just does more damage all in all. There are moments where Nazim Sadykov looks slow on the feet and can get outpointed. I don't think Ziam has that style to do that for 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Nazim Sadykov, I think he's gonna catch Ziam at one point and kind of just put him on his ass and maybe find a finish. I think Nazim Sadykov's really fucking solid once he gets his striking, his combinations flowing. And Ziam, even though he's been winning a lot recently, he hasn't, like I've said in previous videos, I think Ziam is really close to being ranked. I thought that he deserved a fight for a ranking at least. But I think he's going to lose this one. I think in pretty decent fashion as well. So I go Nazim Sadykov by TKO over Ziam in rounds 2 or 3. I think Nazim Sadykov will kind of pour it on as the fight goes on. And Ziam, who has been really relying on his grappling, will kind of falter as this fight goes on. So I will go Nazim Sadykov over Ziam. We move to Maycee Barber versus Karine Silva. I'm going to pick Maycee Barber if this fight does happen, which I kind of highly doubt. Maycee Barber, I hope, has gotten her weight cut under control for flyweight. I don't know how the UFC is letting her continually fight here, even though she's been, dying to make weight for like the past 2 years. I still think in the fight she will be better than Karine Silva. Karine, she's got good finishing instincts, at least prior to the, Deone Barboza fight at 319. She's looked all right. She lost to Viviane Araújo. Karine, I feel, is just like a gal that they're trying to push because they think that she has, she can finish a fight. But I don't really think she's all that. You know what I mean? Like, she made a splash. She had, a knee bar in her debut. She had, all 4 of her first fights in the UFC be by finish. And everyone, including myself, was like, damn, dude, you rarely see that with WMMA. WMMA, bro. You never really see that, bro. But, I don't really think that the people she beat, in hindsight are all that. Caitlin Sows is good. But Marina Moroz, Poliana Botelho, come on, what are we doing? Ariane, De Silva, she's good, but she also took that to a decision, so I was wrong on my stat. And then Deone Barboza, a lot of people thought that she could have lost. I personally thought that she won, but it was very close. And I feel like if you're making it close with, Deone Barboza, Maycee Barber, especially, on the feet and grappling, wrestling, you're getting outdone by Deone Barboza. I don't like that. I'll pick Maycee Barber, who I've seen, have very good outings against people who are way better than you. Caitlin Sermonara, for example. Amanda Hebos, for example. Miranda Maverick, even though I thought she lost against Miranda Maverick. She's, in there. Karine Silva's just kind of here. So, she's got good jiu-jitsu. She's got really good leg lock submissions, but I think on the feet, she's a sitting duck there, and she's super sloppy on the feet. I think Maycee Barber's way more technical, so I'll pick Maycee Barber by decision over Karine Silva. We move to Terrance McKinney versus Chris Duncan. Great fight.
What a great fight this is.
I'm gonna pick a fluke. Listen, I know I do this from time to time. I think Terrance McKinney is gonna fluke Chris Duncan in the first round. Now, hear me out. I don't know what it is about Chris Duncan. He's been beating a lot of really good guys. Guys that I personally think are maybe a bit more ranked material than Terrance McKinney. All right? Let's keep it a buck. Okay? I don't know is it just me, or does Chris Duncan kind of give off vibes of yeah, he'd probably lose to Terrance McKinney. I don't know what it is about Chris Duncan. Maybe it's just seeing him get dropped by straight punches so consistently by Charlie Campbell on the Contender Series, and I just always think about that fight. And maybe Manuel Torres hurting him very easily and also submitting him. And then I realized Chris Duncan, a lot of his wins, Błachowicz isn't really that great. He also had a very, very bad IQ moment against him. Jordan Muchenik, very similar thing, bad IQ. And to be fair, Terrance McKinney's not the smartest fellow. Right. And he is chinny in his own right, Terrance McKinney is. But Terrance is very fast. And I think one of the most shocking things about Chris Duncan is his speed, how slow he is comparatively to other lightweights. He looked, it was similar with Rebecki, but that's just because Rebecki's slow and sluggish in his own right. Terrance is lightning fast. And I think that this is going to be a performance where it's it's not even really skill. It's just that quick twitch muscle ability from Terrance McKinney that'll kind of carry him to finding a finish in this fight. Whether it's dropping Chris Duncan, flatlining him with a 1-2, or maybe even dropping Chris Duncan and then diving into a guillotine or a rear naked choke or something like that. I think Terrance McKinney is going to find a fluke over Chris Duncan, and it's going to set Chris Duncan back a long way. I think Chris Duncan's all right. I think he's pretty good. He's logged a way bigger win streak than I thought he would. I've picked against him literally in his last, I want to say, 5 fights. I feel like I picked an all schmooze against this fucking dude. I definitely picked Manuel Torres over him. I definitely picked Balaji, Jordan, and Rebecki to beat him. I'm going to keep that streak going, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just, there's fighters on the UFC roster that I just can never predict their fights correctly. I don't know what it is. I think I got a good read on this one, though. I think that there's bound to be a fluke somewhere on this card. And this fight, I don't know what, because I want to pick Chris Duncan, because I think that he should beat Terrance McKinney. He should be, based on track record of opponents, and just I just feel like Terrance McKinney's got that fluke gene in him. And Chris Duncan gives off vibes of a very flukeable fighter. You could fluke a win over him. And we'll talk about more flukes, maybe, coming up, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Terrance McKinney is just going to fluke a 1-2 down the pipe, and Chris Duncan's just going to, short circuit. I think Chris Duncan's good. I think he trains with a lot of good people. But Terrance McKinney, I don't know. This is what he does. So I'll bite the bullet. I'll take Terrance McKinney. It'll probably backfire, but fuck it. Who cares? We move to the featured prelim. Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Speaking of flukes, I'm going to pick Manuel Torres over Grant Dawson. Listen, this is basically the same thing with the Terrance McKinney fight. Maybe a little bit more ill-advised, because I think Grant Dawson is very good in this lightweight division. I think he's heavily underrated. His chin really worries me, though, And Grant Dawson, for what it's worth, he's one of these guys who you kind of just forget exists because of how inactive they are. Grant Dawson hasn't fought since, I want to say, it wasn't Joe Selecki. That was at 302. It was who? It was Carlos Diego Ferreira, right? At 311? Yeah. Dude, Grant Dawson's very good. But, I don't know what it, maybe it's just Bobby Green chinning him with a fucking jab. And I'm seeing Manuel Torres absolutely, murder everybody outside of Ignacio Bahamondes in the UFC. And maybe his grappling is dog shit. Who knows? We haven't really seen his grappling get fully tested in the UFC. For real, we haven't. He's knocked out basically everybody. He submitted Chris Duncan, great win. Knocked out Drew Dober in under 2 minutes, great win. Fashion-wise, great win. Nicholas Mota, even though Nicholas Mota isn't that great, the way he beat Nicholas Mota was very emphatic. Frank Camacho, similar thing. Old-ass vet. Brutal finish. I think Grant Dawson's very good. I think his chin is very suspect to me. I think he's just a newer age Gamrot in a way. And that's not even because I think Grant Dawson's been in the UFC a similar amount of time to Gamrot, if not maybe more, longer. But Manuel Torres, man, he's got this really big finishing instinct. And I've said this about fights, and it hasn't been the greatest track record. I picked Robert Valentin to beat Ryan Loder based on finishing ability. That didn't play out. I think Manuel Torres is going to... I think he's just going to fucking fluke it. Listen, it's not a fluke. I think Grant Dawson's going to kind of stay on the feet with him for maybe a tad second too long and get clipped with some abominable fucking punch or like elbow or some bullshit. Grant Dawson usually shoots very early. I think Manuel Torres is going to manage distance decently well. Maybe he overthrows and gets taken down. Who knows? We'll find out Saturday night. Maybe this is the performance that reveals the grappling inconsistencies of Manuel Torres. I haven't really seen it, so I can't bank on it. I have seen Grant Dawson get shinned by Bobby Green, though. And I know that, Manuel lost to Ignacio Almondes. That was striking completely. That was just him being an idiot. Grant Dawson doesn't have really the best striking. He's got a decent jab. That's about it. He's got very wrestling-style striking outside of that. Very robotic in a way. Good ground and pound. Great ability to control on the ground. I think Manuel Torres is kind of underrated, though, a little bit. I'll pick Manuel Torres to knock out Grant Dawson in the first round. I think it's going to be a lot like the fight before this. So we move to the start of the main card. Jan Błachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. I'm going to pick Jan Błachowicz over Bogdan Guskov. This was in my video in fights that I think won't be competitive. Maybe I should have put a different fight, because I think that this, closer, I think it might be a bit more competitive than I was giving it credit for. I just think Jan Błachowicz is going to win. I think he's a bit of a better fighter than Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan in the UFC has looked very good. Volkan Oezdemir, he got, on short notice, got kind of beat up and then subbed. Outside of that, Zach Pyonga, knockout. Ryan Spann, knockout. Billy Elikana, submission. Or was that a TKO? I forget. I think he dropped him and then Billy kind of gave up and then he submitted him. Nikita Krylov, knockout. He's a very dangerous guy in this light heavyweight division. But he's fighting, Zach Pyonga, Ryan Spann, Nikita Krylov. Nikita Krylov came back really quick after a brutal knockout. Jan Błachowicz is a blockhead. He's got a decent chin on him. And I think he's very defensively sound, especially as of now. You won't really see Jan Błachowicz getting tagged super clean or anything. I think Bogdan's a bit of a rusher. Not quite my tempo. All right, that's the way I'll put it. Not quite my tempo. Okay, especially against a guy like Jan Błachowicz. I think it's a really big step up for Bogdan Guskov to jump this high up the rankings after, chinning Nikita Krylov, who had been knocked out 4 months prior or 3 months prior. You know what I mean? It's a bit too quick, in my opinion, for Bogdan to rise up the ranks like this. Chinny Ryan Spann, knocked him out, and I picked Ryan Spann, to be fair in that. Zach Pyonga, I picked Bogdan Guskov. He's a very quick twitch, very low, and that's another thing. His hands are so low, Bogdan Guskov, and I don't know how he's going to deal with the Błachowicz leg kicks. Because that was something, even though Nikita got knocked out, that was something Nikita did very well, was the kicking game. And then he got way too involved in it and then threw a very blind kick and got chinned for it. Jan Błachowicz sets it up way fucking better. Dude, Jan is very methodical with the way he approaches his fights. He game plans very well. He is old. He is got a lot of wear and tear on him. Double shoulder surgery, a lot of surgeries on Jan Błachowicz. I still think he's better than Bogdan Guskov. And if he isn't, then that's depressing. Because Jan Błachowicz 2 years ago would have mopped the fucking floor with Bogdan Guskov at any point in his career, in my opinion. So, listen, we'll find out come Saturday. I think on the feet, Jan's leg kicks are going to play a huge factor into this fight. Shin-to-shin contact, Bogdan's not going to like it. And I think on the feet, Bogdan's going to be rushing a lot, maybe pushing Jan Błachowicz back a little bit. I think Jan's going to be countering very well, and his entrances won't be as dumb and stupid as like a Krylov, where he's just kind of blindly, aimlessly walking into range and getting tagged for it. And I think Jan Błachowicz is very sound when it comes to his entrances, especially against younger MMA fighters where they're kind of not green necessarily. Bogdan's got a lot of fights, but it's a very bright light for Bogdan Guskov here in this fight. This is top 5. This is really big for him. I think Jan's going to tag him up and bag him at one point. I think he's going to catch him when he's coming in with like a left hook, kind of just slump him to like where he like kind of falters, and then Jan Błachowicz is going to follow up. I think Jan is just, his counter game is too good, and he doesn't blindly throw things that Bogdan can counter on, and he doesn't blindly rush in like other people can. And he's not chinny either, which is all the things that Bogdan's previous opponents have been. Bogdan hits hard, he's very fast, got a lot of quick twitch muscle on him. We don't even really know how Bogdan's grappling really is. He got fucking out-grappled by Billy Alicana for almost the entire first round. Got out-grappled by Volkan. Maybe Jan can just out-grapple the fuck out of this dude. Who knows? But I pick Jan Błachowicz by TKO over Bogdan Guskov pretty clearly, in my opinion. So, Jan Błachowicz, TKO, round 2 or 3. Lock it in. We move to Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo. This was another one in that video. Like I've said in previous videos, I just don't really see a way that Peyton can win outside of knockout, in my opinion. I still think there are holes when it comes to the grappling of Peyton Talbot. I know that he looked way better against Felipe Lima. I think that really just boils down to Felipe Lima being a bit weak and also young as fuck for the bantamweight division. Henry Cejudo, on the feet, the height discrepancy is not going to be 6 inches. I'm telling you that right now. Peyton's lying about his height. He's either lying up. Henry might be lying up a little bit as well. Henry looked not that much smaller than Song Yadong, who claims he's 5'8". Felipe Lima claims he's 5'6". He was damn near the same height as Peyton Talbot, who claims he's 5'10". So, who knows who's saying what and what's right and what's wrong, but who fucking cares? On the feet, Peyton should realistically have an advantage, just reach-wise, accuracy-wise. I think this is going to be a match where Henry might actually have a bit closer to a speed advantage than against Song Yadong, who's very explosive, this, that, and the third. Peyton, I think Peyton's going to make mistakes in this fight based off his style. Peyton's a very walk-him-down kind of guy. That's what he likes to do a lot of the time. I think if he wants to have more success, he should really allow Cejudo to walk towards him, because that's what Song Yadong had a lot of success with, was allowing Henry to whiff and whiff and whiff and then counter him very well. My big issue is I don't think Peyton Talbot has the crispiest head movement. There are moments where he will evade strikes. Felipe Lima, he did that during moments where he showed really solid head movement. But for most of the fight, he was getting his head blasted back with a fucking straight right hand and then a left hand following it. And again, the grappling, I get it. Peyton Talbot did look way better in the grappling against Felipe Lima. Again, a much weaker, less veteran-esque fighter in Felipe Lima, who's still very young. Raoni Barcelos, who again, smaller than Peyton Talbot. He's also seen as, old. Not seen as, he is old. Easily out-grapples Peyton Talbot. I'm not saying Henry's going to out-grapple Peyton Talbot to the level that Raoni did. Even then, Peyton Talbot did have a hip throw in that fight. I think just generally in this fight, Henry's going to be able to employ some of his earlier weapons that he's utilized in his fight game. His striking into his grappling. He shot takedowns against Song Yadong. Peyton Talbot still, there are these little IQ mishaps where he will engage in the grappling with somebody that he shouldn't be, where he should realistically be striking with them, but then he'll engage in the grappling and get taken down off of that. We've seen that a multitude of times in the Raoni Barcelos fight, exchanging in clinch exchanges with him. I know Henry Cejudo is more of a freestyle wrestler. I think one of the things that might work to his advantage is catch wrestling in this fight, because Peyton Talbot does throw a lot of low kicks, which could add up against Henry Cejudo. That was something Song Yadong did very well in their fight. But I think in a 3-round fight, Henry can kind of dial in and kind of focus on what he needs to do in the first 2 rounds. And it's not like this is going to be a crazy Marab-like pace where Peyton's going to be shooting 13 takedowns in the first 2 rounds. No. I think this pace deliberately depends on what Henry is able to do in this fight rather than Peyton. Or if Peyton is going to walk him down, and if Henry's able to capitalize on the mistakes of Peyton Talbot. I think it really depends on if Peyton is what he is normally, which is just a walk him down kind of slugger, a technical slugger at that, or if he's going to come in with a smarter approach and maybe allow Henry to make mistakes. I think that Peyton's going to walk him down and end up getting clipped for it multiple times and maybe even taken down off of it. Cejudo, I just think, wins this fight. I think he's got more tools in the tool bag than Peyton Talbot. I think he's more experienced than Peyton Talbot. I know he's more experienced than Peyton Talbot. And Peyton's getting this fight off of Felipe Lima, who up to that point had 2 fights in the UFC. One against Miles Johns, who was kind of competitive, and then Muhammad Naimov, who was winning that fight until the submission. Right. I don't know if I can ride with Peyton Talbot on this one, just because merit-wise, I don't think he stacks up with Henry Cejudo. If he beats Cejudo, it's not because Cejudo's bad, it's because he's washed. At the end of the day, that's what this matchup will be if he does win. But at the end of the day, I don't think Henry Cejudo's all that washed. I think he had some very good moments against Song Yadong. He had good moments against Merab. He had good moments against Aljo. He's not washed. It's just he's fighting the literal best of the best in the division, and now he's taking a huge step down in competition in Peyton Talbot. And I sadly think this is going to be another step back for Peyton Talbot. Not just another step back, another learning experience that they're going to have to deal with the trajectory of Peyton Talbot. I think this is way too soon for him. It's not like this might be too soon. This is too soon for Peyton Talbot at the end of the day. So, Henry Cejudo, I'll pick him by decision. We move to the featured fight, Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. I'm going to pick Taira over Brandon Moreno. Simply, I think on the feet, Brandon should have the advantage. I think Brandon's a more technical boxer than Tatsuro Taira, but I think Tatsuro Taira isn't going to be that badly outmatched that it's super painfully obvious. I think Tatsuro Taira's striking is still kind of underrated. His head movement is still terrible, but at the end of the day, his genuine striking isn't that bad. He's very fast, and he's very rangy for people talk about the grappling of Tatsuro Taira a lot, which, albeit that's what they should be talking about. His frame for flyweight, I know he's not super, tall like Tagir or Charles Johnson. He's fucking, got a wildly built frame. Huge back, long-ass arms, huge shoulders as well. He's just kind of a specimen, it looks like, for this weight class. And I think all in all, I think Brandon Moreno, one of his biggest weak points is, especially this late in his career, other than the Albazi performance, Urseg, he reverted back to tit for tat. Kind of allowing Steve Urseg, he didn't go fully in, he kind of just tapped. Tapped at range. Albazi beat the shit out of him. Albazi beat the fuck out of him. Brandon Royval, tappy tap. Tappy tappy tap. Tappy tappy tap. Tap 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 tap. Tap 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 tap. You know what I mean? He's just tapping at range, not going fully in. Well, when he does go fully in, it's way out of range and it's a stupid, wild overhand right. Albazi, he was very calm, collected. Urseg, again, just that tappy-tap nature, and I don't think that'll work against Tatsuro Taira, who can exploit Brandon Moreno's biggest weakness, which is, at fault, his grappling. I think Brandon Moreno gives up his back a lot, and I think it's entirely why Pantoja beat him in their technical trilogy at 290. I think the only reason why Pantoja won that fight was the ability to maintain the back of Brandon Moreno. If you really look at that fight, striking was very competent. The grappling is where Pantoja actually had more success. He actually out-grappled Moreno in the 5th round, if I remember correctly. Basically won the round based on control. He held Brandon Moreno's back for almost the entire round standing. Tatsuro Taira has some of the slickest back takes in flyweight history, if we're being honest. He has some of the slickest back control, back management, back takes in flyweight right now and in history. He's a very slick grappler in his own right. And I think that he's very strong on the feet. Obviously, head movement, non-existent. But I think he can manage Brandon Moreno very well, especially if Brandon Moreno is a tippy-tap-tap guy. If this was a 5-rounder, I would probably pick Brandon Moreno. I think Tatsuro Taira's cardio is still kind of wary to look at, which is why he lost to Brandon Royval. Was all in all his cardio and his just kind of his stamina on the feet especially failed him in that fight, almost getting finished by Brandon. Royval is not my favorite look, if I'm being honest with you, but Moreno on the feet, he's going to be throwing out the jab, switch kicking to the body, kind of throwing awkward low kicks, and the awkwardness might be able to play a huge factor in this fight because Tatsuro Taira is a very technical kind of guy, very technical striking, technical grappling. Maybe the unorthodox nature of Moreno can maybe play a bit of a bigger factor in this fight than I think it will, but I think Tatsuro Taira is very fucking good, I think he's very good. And I think especially in the grappling, and even though Brandon Moreno, he's able to scramble with the best of them, I think he does make lapses in judgment, especially when trying to get back to his feet. He can scramble his ass off, to be fair to him. But I think one of the things that he might make a mistake in is giving up his back to maybe try and scramble to his feet. I think if he does that, which I've seen Brandon Moreno do it a number of times, I think we're going to see Tatsuro Taira latch on, get his back, maybe not finish the fight necessarily, but hold the position enough to where they give him the round. I think this fight goes to a decision, and I think it's going to be a 29-28 decision that goes Tatsuro Taira's way. I think the striking is going to be competitive. We're going to see another tippy-tap Brandon Moreno. Tatsuro is going to land big. In moments, Brandon Moreno is going to land bigger. Maybe far and few between, but he's going to be tapping. More volume is going to come from Brandon Moreno. But I think all in all, the harder, more, damaging shots might come from Tatsuro Taira, who we've seen. He does hit pretty hard when he does land. So I think Tatsuro Taira's got this one. I think he beats Brandon Moreno. I think it'll be close. But I favor Tatsuro Taira's grappling edge in this fight, and I think he's got a very big frame for flyweight. I think Brandon Moreno's kind of not falling off, but I think he's just kind of... He's not falling off, not even close to falling off. But I think that Tatsuro Taira just has the style to beat him, in my opinion. So I will go Tatsuro Taira over Brandon Moreno. Lock it in. We move to the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. I'm picking Alexandre Pantoja by first or second round submission. I've said it in multiple videos. I don't think this fight is going to be close. It is what it is. I just don't really think that Joshua Van... I think, one, he's too young. Two, he hasn't fought the level of competition I'd like to see him fight. I know he beat Brandon Royval short notice. Crazy win. There was no footage in that fight that would prove to me that he beats Pantoja, who I think is on a whole other level than all these flyweights put together, if I'm being honest with you. I think the grappling of Pantoja is on a different level. I know Joshua Van's massively improving. I know he's looked very good in his past couple of fights. Pantoja has made light work of this flyweight division for a while now. Let's be honest. Other than the Urseg performance, which is very close, which I know it's crazy that Urseg has had the best performance outside of maybe Moreno in title fights in respect. I think that Joshua Van... the striking is very crisp from Joshua Van. Combinations galore from him. His boxing is so clean. He knows his angles very well. I still think Joshua Van's chin is suspect. I still think it is. He's small. We haven't seen him fight against a predominant grappler that I personally rate. Ray Saruya is not on the level of Pantoja. 1 week notice, Ray Saruya is not on that level. Bruno Silva, not on that level. Brandon Royval, for sure not on that level. Pantoja didn't take any damage against Royval. Let's keep it a fucking buck. All right. Joshua Van, very good, very talented, very young. That's just it. Very young. Joshua Van's been in MMA for 5 years now, I believe. He hasn't been fighting for all that long. He's just kind of racked up fight after fight after fight and just won a bunch, which, to be fair, it's working for him, especially in the UFC, one of the most active fighters on the roster. I think stylistically, he doesn't match up all that well for Pantoja. I think, Joshua Van, he's got great takedown defense. I think he does. I don't think, I know. What's his takedown defense percentage? 81. That's fucking great. Great takedown defense. Not against Pantoja. I have said this about other athletes on the UFC roster. Hamzat, for example. You can have all the takedown defense you want. There's just different grapplers in this division. I should have said the same thing when it came to Islam, but I didn't think that he would translate all that. I knew he would translate over to welterweight. I knew he'd flush out. His lightweight performances didn't prove that enough to me, especially against like Poirier. Pantoja is mauling flyweights at this rate. Kaikar France, who I and many others believe is one of the best anti-grapplers in the division. He just, like, Kaikar France, that's like one of his like most prized stats is his takedown defense and his ability to kind of nullify the grappling of most people in that division. I think stylistically, Joshua Van, outside of striking, there's nothing that he does that really... Takedown defense, I know he's got a crazy percentage. Kaikar France has an 84% takedown defense. And he gets hit way less than Joshua Van. Alexandre Pantoja went 3 of 6 on takedowns. And those are probably bloated, fake takedowns that they gave him. On the feet, Pantoja's not bad. People underrate his striking so much. They think he's just some moron who throws abundance of hooks. Pantoja is very smart. He's not a dumb marauder. He knows what he's doing. He's got great pressure. This is going to be a fight that Joshua Van's going to be on the back foot in, which we don't necessarily see all the time, and I don't know how he's going to look on the back foot. If Joshua Van is the one moving forward in this fight, that's fucking huge. I don't think he's going to be the one moving forward. Pantoja hits harder than Joshua Van. I know that for a fucking fact. I just know that. He hits harder, is a way better grappler. On the feet, Joshua Van's more technical. Pantoja's going to be slamming low kicks, slamming body kicks, slamming hooks on the arms of Joshua Van, pressing him against the fence and taking him down, and he's going to sub him very early. And it's going to be sad to watch, in my opinion. It's going to be one of those moments where it's like, oh, you're not ready yet. And I don't know if anyone truly is ready. I've gone on record saying I think Tatsuro Taira is a guy to beat Pantoja. I'm not too sure of that. I'm still not too sure of that. I think Pantoja's on a different level right now. He's improving from performance to performance in his title reign. 50-45 over Brandon Royval. Steve Erceg, whatever. Finishes Kaya Asakura. Finishes Kaikar France. Beats Brandon Moreno, 48-47, 49-46, whatever you want to call it. 48-47, 49-46, Steve Erceg. Whatever you want to say about it. He's better. At the end of the day, he is better. Joshua Van, he's shown great skills against people that I don't rate. I cannot implement that into him fighting Pantoja. I just can't. Cardio, I don't think Joshua Van's going to have a problem with cardio. I think he's got the cardio to match Pantoja, if not better cardio than Pantoja. I don't think this one goes late. I think Pantoja subs him early, sadly enough. I think the way that Pantoja sets up his takedowns, the way he batters people on the feet, the way that he treats them like nothing, Joshua Van ain't prepared for that. He just ain't. He's not. And when he gets in there with Pantoja, he's going to find out very fucking quick that this is not what he wants to be in. Pantoja by first or second round rear naked choke. Lock it in. We move to the main event. Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan 2. I'm picking Merab Dvalishvili over Petr Yan. I'll pick him by decision. I see people picking him by finish. I can somewhat see it. I think Merab's just going to do a lot of what he did in the first fight over again. It's just kind of hard to pick Petr Yan here. Like, realistically, he had very little success against Merab the first time around. Actually, none, essentially. But he did have a broken right hand, which people will always refer back to. I don't think that matters, if I'm being honest with you. It does matter, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really does. Merab's going to run a clinic on him. He's going to shoot 50 takedowns again. And Merab's improving. That's the issue with Merab. Like Pantoja before, he's improving already. He's improving on his already greatness. That's fucking insane. Merab's striking is looking better. He's hurting Corey Sandhagen. His submission threat is getting way better. He's submitting Sean O'Malley. You know what I mean? Like, he's just getting better. Like, at the end of the day, there is no, Merab stagnant. He's improving. His cardio is just as it was in the first fight. It's way better than Petr Yan's. He's going to shoot multiple takedowns. And the problem is Petr Yan, the only way he's going to be able to win this is by finish. Petr Yan is not that much of a finisher anymore. The last time he finished a fight was Jose Aldo in the 5th round. I just don't see it. Boxing-wise, Petr Yan's better. I don't think it matters. The takedown threat's always going to be there with Merab. That's why he has so much success, is the takedown threat. It's not even that but the thing, I say that, it's not like he's that good. His wrestling is improving. His takedown bag is improving. His takedown package is fucking improving. He's got better trips. He's got better actual takedowns. He's throwing people down. He's leg dropping on people. He's getting better. At the end of the day, he's better. Petr Yan doesn't have the height advantage. He doesn't have the reach advantage. He doesn't have the things that I think Sean O'Malley and Corey Sandhagen have that make their fights competitive in the way that they are. Corey Sandhagen, at least a bit more than Sean O'Malley. Takedown, he's a great scrambler. This, that, and the third. Sean O'Malley hits harder, but he's a bit weaker. Petr Yan's smaller, stubbier, hits hard, but not really. I don't think that he has that the gift of gab that people say that he does. He's a great striker, one of the best. I can't even say that though, because I've seen Petr Yan lose strictly striking rounds to fucking Aljamain Sterling and Song Yadong. He improves as the fight goes on, but I think this is going to be another fight where Petr Yan gets in there, thinks I'm improved, he's improved, but I've improved more. The first round goes the same way that the first round went in their first fight. Merab wins. 9 takedowns attempted. Petr Yan's like, oh shit, I'm back. He's going to be phantom sprawling in this fight like he did against Song Yadong the entire time. And we're going to have to watch Petr Yan. And Yan's injury prone as well. And his win streak is not that good. Let's keep it a buck. Song Yadong, one of the biggest choke artists in UFC history. Every single number one title contender fight he's in, he chokes. Deiveson Figueiredo is old as shit. He's not that good at bantamweight against high-level competition. We've seen this a multiple amount of times. He's almost losing to Montel fucking Jackson. Marcus McGee, who again is old, and is primarily a striker. His win streak does not prove to me that he can compete with Merab in a rematch. It just does. Petr Yan got beat worse than anybody against Merab. Other than Sean O'Malley the second time around, and then fucking Marlon Moraes. And even then, Marlon Moraes had more success because he almost finished fucking Merab in the first round. It's unfortunate. I don't think Petr Yan has that ability to capitalize on Merab's shortcomings in the pocket where he leaves his chin wide open in the air. He should, but he doesn't, because Petr Yan, when someone walks forward at Petr Yan, he does not strike back. He will just shell up. Petr Yan is a first go. I go first. When I go first, I land, and then you go. He's a very Muay Thai-esque fighter where he's very turn-based striking. Merab, you cannot do that against him because he doesn't give a fuck about whether it's your turn or not. He's just gonna fucking go. And the distance management that I've always brought up about Merab, he's either way in or way out. Petr Yan's going to be striking at ghosts the entire fucking fight. And when Merab's in his face, Yan's going to fucking shell up or try to stuff takedowns. When he's way out, Petr Yan's going to be trying to advance. Merab's going to feint, way in, shoot a takedown, maybe get it, maybe not, probably not, but he'll just weigh on Petr Yan over and over again. At the end of the day, Merab is a machine. You cannot bring a guy like Petr Yan against him, in my personal opinion. I don't think this fight's all that competitive. Again, I think it's going to be another 50-45, 49-46 decision for Merab Dvalishvili. Maybe Yan wins a round. Maybe he hurts Merab. Maybe. And that's a huge fucking maybe. I think Merab's just better. He's on I'm on a whole nother level, I'm geeking. Like, that's Merab at this moment. He's better. At the end of the day, he's better than Petr Yan. Merab Dvalishvili by unanimous decision. Lock it in. UFC thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC 323. Dvalishvili versus Yan 2 on December 6, 2025. My confident picks reside with Henry Cejudo, Alexandre Pantoja, and in the main event, Merab Dvalishvili. My pre-card rating is a 9 out of 10. I fuck with this card heavy. There's a lot of fun fights on the undercard, the main card. I think we're going to see a lot of fun fights. I think the Merab Yan fight's going to be fun, even though I think it's going to be one-sided. A lot of finishes I see on this card, especially on the undercard. A lot of lightweight action, a lot of fun lightweight action at the end of the day. There's some other divisions sprinkled in there as well. I think this is going to be a good pay-per-view to end the ESPN era. Maybe we wanted something different, but hey, I cannot be mad at a bantamweight, flyweight title fight pay-per-view, if I'm being honest with you. I love the flyweight and bantamweight division, so I think we're locked in for some fun scraps. Yeah, that's the video. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you guys want to see next. Do you guys agree with my picks? Who are you picking in the main event of UFC 323, Merab Dvalishvili or Petr Yan? Let me know in the comments down below. I will see you guys after the fights. Peace.